Welcome to an episode of Free Thinking with Montel, where we take a moment to reflect and question and even challenge the way we live in today's fast-paced world. I'm your host, Montel Williams, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. Now, I've got a big question for you, and the question is, what does Christmas really mean to you? Is it about the presents under the tree, the late-night shopping, perhaps the craziness of Black Friday sales, or is it something more profound, something deeper? On today's episode, we're going to dig into the heart of the holiday spirit. This one's called Lose the Stuff, Keep the Memories. We're unpacking the consumer-driven chaos Christmas has become and finding our way back to what really matters: togetherness, gratitude, and love. And to help us do that, I've got an incredible guest with us. Joining us is Mr. Matt Paxton. You know him as a star of PBS's Legacy List with Matt Paxton, or from his years helping families reclaim their homes and their lives in Hoarders. He's also the author of Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff, and someone who's spent decades helping people declutter and downsize their lives. Together, we're going to explore how to break free from the madness, why it's okay to lighten your material load, and what truly makes the season special. Stick around. You won't want to miss this. Let's face it, folks. We've kind of lost the plot. Christmas has turned into this overblown spectacle of buying, spending, and collecting stuff. I mean, have you been to the mall lately or one of those Black Friday sales? Seriously, people are tearing down doors like it's the opening of a scene of a apocalyptic movie. We gleefully traded meaningful time with our family and reflection, even our religious traditions, for the frenzy of consumerism. Here's the thing. The stuff we accumulate, it doesn't last. Those gifts, those gift cards, the newest gadgets, the endless piles of wrapping paper, it's all temporary. But the stress it brings, that sticks around for, I don't know, as long as you keep the stuff. And so does the impact on the planet. The real tragedy is the joy we sacrifice by falling into this trap. We've shifted our focus so far away from what matters, spending time with loved ones, being present, and sharing gratitude. It's the connection, not the consumption. There's good news. We have a choice to turn it all around. And that's what we want to explore today. To help give us a little bit of a perspective on how to reclaim the season and, frankly, our sanity, I'm bringing in an expert who knows clutter like no other. Matt Paxton has dedicated his life to helping people declutter, not just their homes, but their minds and their hearts too. Matt, my friend, welcome to Free Thinking with Montel, sir.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here at this time of the year, man. I'm telling you, I think a lot of people need to understand this message. I've been watching, just every couple of minutes they show scenes from the Black Friday or just scenes from the packed malls. I mean, I think this year is going to be a little weird because I think people have lived a year filled with so much, I don't know, angst and anxiety and anger, that I think they're going to use this Christmas as an opportunity to just see if they can purge it by purging their wallet and taking all their money out and spending as much as they can, understanding that in about a month they're going to be so upset that they did that. But I think that's what people are trying to go after this year, this release from the insanity by adding more insanity to their life by overspending. It's crazy. So, is that?
It is. I mean, I've spent 25 years cleaning out houses, helping people go through this stuff. And now I realize I've been studying consumer behavior and I didn't realize it. But at the end of the day, we found that people look for happiness and self-worth in their stuff. And I'm going to say that twice because it's important. People are looking for their happiness and self-worth in their stuff, not themselves, not their family. And when you look for it in tangible goods, it's a pretty empty story. I mean, you think you're going to find it. And honestly, that's what we found with hoarders, right? I mean, like they would buy because they were looking to be happy. And then they would get all the stuff gets delivered and they never open the boxes. And then the next day they're super sad. And so what do they got to do to feel good again? They got to go buy. And it's just this never ending roller coaster of emptiness.
And I think well, one of the things that people don't understand is that, it's crazy. And I'm not picking on any generation specifically, but as I've gotten older and I'm older this year,
yeah,
I started realizing My Lord, I got stuff. I got stuff. It should be a song. I got stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff don't get you. I mean, it's not. I haven't even looked at it. I had some things when we moved. I and my wife moved from one part of Miami over to another part of Miami now 2 years ago. Do you know when we moved, we moved to a cool 3 bedroom. We filled up the third bedroom with stuff.
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 So
And then I realized,
literally, let's unpack that. You got a room for people to visit you, and
no,
it's filled with stuff.
it's filled with stuff. It's a room that people should be visiting me with,
Yeah.
but it's filled with stuff. And so, I mean, literally, we went after about, and it was 8 months before I even opened up. We got everything situated, got all the stuff, but not all the stuff, got stuff put away, the things that we needed. And then I went into the third room and I looked and it was like a room full of boxes. And some of these boxes I hadn't opened or even looked at for 8 months.
Yep.
And I realized that that stuff that was in those boxes that I hadn't looked at for 8 months was in those same boxes 3 years before that. So almost 4 years, this stuff had been in boxes and had never even been looked at.
Yep.
I hadn't opened up the box to appreciate what this was. It's like, and we went through a mass downsizing, but we got another downsizing we got to go through right now because I'm sitting in the room, I'm looking at stuff.
So I'll argue right away. I'm gonna jump right into tips, man. You got family coming to the holidays, let them go in that house and take stuff they want.
That's what, yeah. That's
Hey, let them take an item out of that room, man. You don't need it. You've already proven you don't need it.
right.
I think there's a lot going on. We got the fear of missing out, right? We keep stuff because of FOMO. We think we're going to miss out if we get rid of it, or I might need it. And the reality is, you don't really. I mean, I've known you a long time now. You've downsized from New York down to Florida, and every time you take a little less stuff, but you think about how much stuff you've taken. By the way, I was 30 when I met you. I'll be 50 this year.
Oh my goodness! Don't age me, my brother.
I mean, it happens, right? And I got, I married a minimalist 4 years ago, and so I was forced to get rid of stuff because I went from a 4,000 square foot house to a 2,000 square foot house, and we got 7 kids. So I knew, we got no space, and so it was like, all right, I can only take so much, And
you wonder, where did you collect all this stuff?
It was from my dad. It was from my grandpa. It was from my grandma. It was stuff that was really important at that point in my life. And so I kept holding on. And if everything is important, I call it stepping stones, right? Everything, when you have it, it actually makes sense. When you consume it, you think you need it. You think it matters. It could be sentimental. It could be emotional. It could be financial value. But it makes sense why you kept it. And I always say you needed that item to get you to that point, right? But now you've grown. You may not necessarily need it. But we're holding on to who we were because we're not necessarily happy with who we currently are. And so a lot of the time we're holding on to the past, right? And we call it the perfect past or the fake future. And so we're holding on to this like, oh, I'm going to get healthy again. I need my skis, right? Now I know I'm talking to the wrong guy because you still snowboard, but like for me, I moved to Atlanta. I don't need my snow skis.
But guess what? I'm in Miami. I haven't been snowboarding now for 4 years.
There you go. Okay.
I keep telling myself I'm going to go again next year. But then I look over in the corner over here and I got a box full of stuff. Yeah. Dude, I have probably 15 snowboarding outfits. Really? I need 15 snowboarding outfits? Why do I haven't been for 4 years and I still got 15 outfits? I got rid of like 12.
Okay, so now we've acknowledged the silliness and what we've kept, right? That's step one. You just got to acknowledge and be like, all right, do I really need this stuff? I kept it because I thought it was cool, or it was expensive, or I thought I was going to do the activity, right? So now we kept it. We've acknowledged it's silly. We don't need it. So now what do I do with it? Well, either I sell it or I donate it, right? Or you give it away. If you got kids that want to go use the stuff, give it to them. But you got to tell them you got to take it by X time, because what happens is that as we age, the parent becomes the storage unit for the adult children, right? And so they're like, well, yeah, I want it. Don't throw it away. I'll pick it up in 4 years, right? And then you got it. So I tell everybody, give them a deadline. Say, hey, if you want this stuff, you got to come pick it up by X date. And if you do, it's yours. But if you don't, I'm going to sell it or I'm going to give it away.
It's crazy. It's like, fashion changes, and we know this, but fashion goes in cycles. It goes and comes back. It goes and comes back.
15 years is the number I tell. 15 years it comes back.
Well, what's really crazy is I did my show, the talk show, for 17 years. I stayed, and I'm still in front of a camera right now. So I think that I need to have the wardrobe that I have because I never know what's coming up. So I need to be ready for the next thing. So I need to have a wardrobe. However, my friend, I'm telling you, I look over to the right of me and there's a closet. There's a big closet on the right of me filled with all my clothes, I should say my dress clothes, if you will. Any given day of the week, you see me. If I'm at home or you call me and said, let's FaceTime, I'm telling you, brother, I'm in a hoodie and a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
I mean, I have, and I wear, and how about this? I wear the same damn hoodie almost every other day. And every day,
Montel, if it's got shoulder pads, you can get rid of it, man.
well,
It's got shoulder pads. Donate it, man.
But guess what? Now I got this one that doesn't have shoulder pads, but it has this really kind of cool embroidery kind of thing on both shoulders. And every time I wear it, I can walk outside the house. People go, "That's a cool jacket. That's a cool sweatshirt, man. Where'd you get it?" So that's what makes me keep it. But again, I probably have at the top rail in the same closet. I kid you not, I have probably 15 other hoodies, and I'm not exaggerating. 15.
Yeah. So I got 5 shirts, 2 pair of pants. That's it. Now I got about 20 pair of shoes. I got a bunch of Jordans, but other than that, I literally have 5 shirts, 2 pair of pants. That's it. And I have to say, I've been living that way for 4 years now.
Wow. It's easy.
It's easy, dude. I don't spend any time. I just get up and I put on my black shirt. And my wife jokes, "Oh, what are you going to wear today? Black shirt and jeans?" And I'm like, "Yes." But it takes me 3 seconds to get ready, man.
That's cool. I can tell you now. You say that, I'm not kidding you. I can look. I'm looking to my right now. I swear to you, I have 6 suits that still have the tags on them.
Tag on it. Yep.
And those suits are at least 4 years old, because that's when I went through this whole thing trying to buy a new wardrobe for this show that I did. But now those are 4 years old and they're sitting there. I have not even pulled them out. I just keep moving them down and further to the right in the closet. I know everything is right. I ain't wearing. But then
you stay healthy though. But that's the other thing. You stay healthy. Most people listening right now, they're like me. I got size 28 all the way up to 36. Gotcha. Right. And you've been healthy for a while now, but like I get super fat, I get super skinny, and so I used to keep a bunch of, well, in case I work out, I'm gonna get back into my 28s. And I'm a solid 36. I mean, they're tight, they're snug. I'm
gonna tell you this, my brother, boy. When you keep saying I'm gonna work out and get back to the 28, ain't gonna happen.
Nope. I'm not gonna work out. Yeah.
I mean, even if you were, the last 3 years, I have noticed myself, dude. I mean, for the longest time, I could fit into 28, 30 pants. I'm squeezing in the 30s right now. I should probably be in 32s. But sometimes when you go to 32 really isn't a 32, it's a 33 plus, because we threw out the number 33. So then now I got pants that don't really fit. And then I have a friend of mine, or a friend of ours, my wife and I, who lives in her hometown, who opened up a haberdashery, a store for men. And because the store's in Tennessee, a little town in Jackson, Tennessee, he literally put together a store that he's bringing in New York and California styles into Tennessee. So, the store is very popular. He's got some of the newest styles from Italy, from France, from all over Europe. They're beautiful things. But homie will send me 3 jackets, out of the blue. It says, boom, hey, I saw these and I thought they look good on you on your shows. And I'm like, brother, don't send me anymore. Please, you can't. Stop sending them. Stop. I can't. I have nowhere to put them.
And when you at least have the power to say no, most people don't feel obligated. Like, what if that was your mother-in-law?
Right.
And they're sending stuff for the grandkids.
Right.
That's what fills the house up at Christmas, right? Is all these grandmas sending just volume, right? And we're afraid to say no. And at least you have the power to say no. A lot of people don't know how to do that. And so I'll come back to that. And I always come back to this. The best thing you can do, it's the holiday season, give this stuff away. If you need the money, you need to sell it, great, sell it. I can give you all the places to sell it. But at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is donate this stuff to someone that actually, truly needs it.
And we'll use it. Absolutely.
We'll actively use it. Yeah.
I did that. I called my closet about 2 years ago. My wife was saying, "Oh, don't give up that shirt. Don't give up that shirt." I said, "Baby, I haven't worn that shirt in 4 years." And, the collars on shirts and men's, most people don't understand, our collars change. And so, if you're wearing a collar from 5 years ago, people can't figure out what's wrong with that outfit, but they recognize there's something wrong. And what they recognize is that men's, especially even on suit jackets, our lapels change. They change just enough that you know that that was 4 years ago. Now, again, you said 15 years from now they'll come back, so then you can act like it's vintage. But I ain't waiting for 7 or 8 years to wear a jacket just because I want to
Yeah.
hold on
I
to it.
don't think the 12-button jackets are coming back.
I hope not. I hope not for sure. You know,
12 brass buttons, you know? Yeah. But I mean, it's we know why we can justify why we keep it. At the end of the day, it makes us feel better, or it costs a lot of money, or it reminds us of someone special in our life. And that's the one that makes us hold on at the end, right? It's this emotional stuff. And especially during the holidays, you hold on to it because, like, oh, it reminds me of my dad, or it reminds me of my mom, or it reminds me of someone that I miss and that I love. And that one is the most difficult, because if you throw that item away, you feel like you're throwing a memory of that person away.
the memory. That's really. But I guess I was going to ask you this question, but from your perspective, what is about stuff that holds such power over us, especially during the holidays? But I think that's probably the number one thing.
It's we miss that person. We love that person. It took me 10 years of being on that show Hoarders to change my mindset. I went from, you walk in and I'll argue I've cleaned the most houses than anyone in the world. And I've been doing this 25 years, longer than my dad died when I was 24. I started cleaning his house, and it was an awful situation. I was just devastated. My dad died and I was bummed. I was a kid. And it sucked. And my grandfather always said, if something sucks, do it as a job, because people will pay you to do it. And so from that day forward, I started cleaning out people's houses. And the first 10 years, I thought people were just messy. I thought they were lazy. And then I realized they're not messy and lazy. They're sad. They love people. And so I changed my verbiage from, oh, you're really messy, to, man, you used to love a lot of people.
Wow.
And when I started changing that mindset and that word choice, the whole thing changed. People were like, I did. And they would tell me stories of their mom or their dad. Or they would tell me stories of someone they cared about. And so about 10 years ago, I started switching to, believe it or not, for me, the biggest part of the process of cleaning the house out is sharing your stories, telling the memories. And I do this thing called a legacy list, which is 5 items. It's the name of a show I do on PBS, but it's also a great way to clean. It's called legacy list. You create write down the 5 most important items in your house and tell me the stories. I want to know. Like, for me, it's my dad. This is my dad's ring. I wear it every day. It was a Tiffany's ring. It's a horrible story, but I love it. It was a Tiffany's ring. My dad was broke. It was in the 80s. He had lost everything, had gotten divorced, lost his business, and he somehow convinced Tiffany's of New York to let him do the catalog. He was an ad man. And, ad guys in the 80s, that show was right. I mean, they lived a pretty wild life. And he was trying to just get his life back. And he convinced Tiffany's to let him do the catalog. He did the catalog. It was time to get paid. And he was like, oh, man, I love this ring. How about we'll just do a swatch. He goes, I'll take the ring and we're even. And as an adult now, I'm like, good Lord, Dad. But that's my dad's story. But at the end of the day, the lesson I've always learned is always get paid for the work that you do, right? And I wear this ring. My dad gave me this ring the day he died. Like, he knew he was going to die, and so I wear it every day. I tell everybody about this ring. People read my book and they hear about the ring. And now I'll be out doing book signings and they're like, oh my God, is that your dad's ring? Like, people remember it. But what I love about that is people ask me about my dad, right? And so he's on my legacy list. And so anyone listening right now, if you've got an item that's really important, you're keeping it because of the loved one. You're keeping it because of the person you cared about. But we don't know the story. And so the holidays is the best time to share these stories. Like, I want to hear the stories, man. I want to hear them all.
Well, that's really where I want to get to the heart of this. I mean, if Christmas isn't about the stuff, what is it really about? And it's really funny. I saw a story on a news program a couple months ago that I literally started doing some digging into, and recognized that most people in this world do not understand that the whole idea of Christmas, celebrating Christmas the way we do right now, is something that really is a last century item. It wasn't something that there are people who say to me, well, you got to believe in Christmas. And I say, crap, Merry Christmas, because it's thousands of years old. No, it's not.
It's a post-World War II development, dude.
Correct. And Coca-Cola drove it more than anybody else.
Yep.
Right. I was shocked. I was shocked when I heard the story about the fact that, Coca-Cola is really who created this.
Yeah.
And literally shoved it down your throat. So
Yep.
much so that, and then Macy's got involved, and then, all the big department stores got involved because we got something here. We got something. They're going to come out every single year and they're going to buy on this day. We got something. We get them buying for a whole month. Let's get them buying for a whole month. So they created all the imagery, all the pictures, all of the ideas behind this elephant home at the North Pole that we somehow equate to having something to do with Jesus Christ. And
I think about my grandma. My grandma grew up in Oklahoma during the Depression, during the Dust Bowl. And I remember one year I was super upset because I didn't get the Mean Gene Green Machine big wheel. I really wanted it as a kid. Do you remember that thing? The
I remember that thing.
Green Machine, man, it was amazing. It had the big break, right? And I wanted it so bad, and I didn't get it. And my grandma was visiting. She was a farmer, and they were from Colorado, but they were visiting us. And she goes, I said, "What's the best gift you ever got, Grandma?" And she goes, "Oh, one year I remember," and she had 13 brothers and sisters. And she goes, "One year I remember I got an orange and my brother got a peppermint stick." And she goes, and we were so happy. And she goes, because we put them together, and then all 13 of us got a sip of the orange juice through the peppermint stick. And I remember thinking, like, I was like, what a crappy gift, right? And then and I got older, and I'm like, you're a horrible person, Matt. Like, what an amazing story. She was so thankful to just have family and to have food. And like I'm taking it to two extremes, but like, dude, that's what Christmas used to be. She didn't have to work in the field that day, and she got to spend the whole day with her family, and all of her brothers and sisters, they shared an orange. And it was like the greatest memory of her life. Now, we've come a long way from that, but how do we bring it back to that, right? How do we bring it back to family? I think that's one of the most important parts.
It's really funny when you say that, and I think about what's one of the best gifts I've ever gotten. I always think back on this. Back in 1974, I was in Marine Corps boot camp, and literally I was in boot camp on Christmas Day.
You in Camp Lejeune, or where were you? You were in
my brother. I was down in Paris Island.
Yeah, Paris. Okay, yeah.
Paris Island. And that day we got up, and normally even on Christmas Eve, you got up to the thrown garbage can in the middle of the room, and all the noise and people screaming at you, and you had to jump out of back and get online. That morning, I think I must have woken up a little early. I woke up probably about they got us up at sunrise, so it was maybe 6 o'clock in the morning when we got up. I must have woken up at 5:30, and I was waiting there in my bed, waiting for that trash can to get thrown down the middle of the row, and it didn't happen. I was like, that's weird. How come there's no trash can? And all of a sudden, lights went on, but nobody was screaming. And I was like, wow, what is that? So then I kind of, lights went on, so you better get up. So, and everybody was in the same kind of a fog mode that morning. So you jump up and you run out, you stand on your line in front of your bed, and I'm standing there on my line, and I'm looking to the right and the left. And all the guys in the boot camp and in the same company with me, we're all looking at each other right and left because there's no drill instructor. Nobody came out screaming. Then all of a sudden, the drill instructor, the door slammed open, bam. Drill instructor walked out and said, "So guess what, Prives? Today is Christmas Day. And you know what your Christmas present is? I'm not going to get in your face for the next 5 hours. So what you can do, breakfast is in an hour. I want every one of you," he used some language that,
Word, yeah.
I want every one of you dressed and sitting on your gear locker, and you clean your best friend. Between now and the time that we go out to breakfast and we come back, you're going to get 3 more hours to clean them some more. So get busy. I'm not going to yell, but if I see you not cleaning, you're going to wish it wasn't Christmas Day. Slammed the door, walked out. And I sat down in my gear locker, and I was like, this is the best Christmas I have ever had. I'm not going to get screamed at. I don't have to run up and down the stairs. I don't have to go run outside. I'm not going to have somebody punching me in the chest. Nobody's poking their finger in my face. I'm cool. And now you think about that. I didn't get a gift. There were no cards. There was none. But that was one of my favorite Christmases.
So that story right there, first of all, gift to all of us to hear that story, right? Like, I'm telling you, man, that is to me what Christmas is about. And so now something I do for a lot of my clients is say, hey guys, let's find a way to actually start those stories. And I call them story starters. But like one of my new favorite things is Again, most of my clients are over 55. They're downsizing either from their first house or to another house. But I call it a poor man's time capsule. I want you to take a gallon Ziploc bag, and I want you to fill it. And if you got 6 kids in the family, get 6-gallon Ziploc bags, and I want you to put 10 items in there. I want you to put some old jewelry, an old picture, whatever will fit in there, like a little key, whatever you got in your junk drawer that reminds you that you kept as some gift for later in life. Now is the time to do it. So I tell everybody, throw a couple items in there, 5 items, 10 items, and then put on an index card, put the story, what it was, where you got it. And believe it or not, I've seen families, the 3rd year in a row I've had families do this now. And they call me back and they're like, oh my God, it was everybody's favorite gift because they all started asking me questions.
All right.
And the stories start flowing like the one you just told us, right? And that is what people want. I mean, we think we want the toys. We think we want all the expensive stuff. But at the end of the day, we really just want love. We want to be happy. We want to have joy. And we love that free time with the family. And I'm telling you, man, the no technology, that's a big one for me now, is just putting the phone away. I got 7 kids, by the way. And so Christmas morning, we lock our phones up. And so they're locked up. Kids can't have them. We're together. We actually, I have a cookbook that my mom gave me, and it's the recipe from every person in my family.
Oh, wow.
It's all the recipes, and it's handwritten in my mom's. It's not digitized. It's not fancy, but it's handwritten recipes from me growing up. I'm from the South, so it's like 7 recipes for deviled eggs.
It's probably done in script, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's hard. I'm gonna read it, and it's like, put some salt, put some sugar, right? It doesn't even have but it's the memories of my families. And so now I sit with my kids. I got my stepkids. 4 of my stepkids are Korean, and so we're men in cultures now, right? And so Christmas morning or Thanksgiving morning now, we sit down and we pick a recipe and we make something from my great grandma and my grandma. But what's cool is the kids start asking me, well, tell me about your grandma. Tell me about your great grandma. My grandparents were cowboys, and they up in Colorado. And we start hearing all the stories about, all these great, and these are, by the way, no one in this house ever met any of the family that raised me because they all passed away. But they can all share the stories because they've heard them from me every year. And
Wow.
It's these little legacy list items. It's the little items in the little poor man's time capsule, Ziploc time capsule, probably a better way to say it. Or even the cookbook from your family. It's memories from the past. And people like you and I, Montel, it's hard to believe this, but let's be honest. How many more years are we going to have a full mind, a super clear mind, and have the ability to tell these stories? So if you're listening now and you're over 50, dude, it's an obligation on you to start telling these stories. And if the kids want to digitize them, great. But at the end of the day, it's that one-on-one moment, Christmas morning, you're sharing stories from the past, and they get to see you happy. They get to see you laughing. They get to hear you talking about people that raised you that they don't even really know that well. But I'm telling you, man, that is what the holidays is about. And by the way, it didn't cost nothing. None of that cost anything.
And for people listening in right now who want to break free from this consumerism trap this season, this is where they can really get started, right?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, you have this, the gift is already in your head. It's a story of who loved you and why you loved them. And, I tell you, we call them story starters. Like I have one fan, because people are like, well, Matt, you're a good storyteller. You do this on TV all the time. And I do. I am a good storyteller. But all of us have good stories. And we had this one family that I said, okay, just ask this one question. Tell me about an invention in your lifetime. Tell me about the most impressive invention in your lifetime. And I did this at a senior living community. And the lady was like, well, she goes, indoor bathrooms. I have to tell you, that changed my life. And I was like, walk us through that. And she goes,
wait, what? Indoor what?
She goes, I did not go to the bathroom indoors until I was 18. And she goes, I remember the first time I saw a car. She goes, space travel is incredible to me. She goes, I can't believe we put someone in space. And she goes, and my iPad is pretty incredible. She goes, but I got to be honest. She goes, I think it's my curling iron. My curling iron is the most impressive thing. And then she told us all about her curling iron. And she grew up in West Virginia and they didn't have that. And she goes, I was able to meet a boy because I had a curling iron. That's how I met your grandfather. And then this, for a lady that couldn't tell a story, man, she didn't shut up for 2 hours. And we all got to hear all these incredible stories with this tiny little question. What's the most impressive thing you had? And then, the other question is like, what was your first car? You'll hear some incredible stories, man. I mean, yeah, but that we as the younger generation, we need, I'm not in that generation anymore, obviously, but for my kids, it's on them to ask the questions. But for you and I, it's on us to tell the stories, man. And
Well,
that's the,
when you say something like that about cars, and I say you just brought a memory back to me. I can remember when I first started driving. Well, let's get this straight. This was 19. Oh Lord, I'm going to date myself.
yeah,
But 1973. And for those who don't know and are looking and thinking about 1973, we were going back then. Remember, that was the first oil crisis in the world.
yeah. Were you even or odd? What day were you
Um,
allowed to get gas?
we were even.
Okay.
And I was 16 years old, and my mom had to leave to go to work at like, she had to leave the house to go to work by 7. And my school didn't start until 8:30, and she actually worked close to where I went to school, and she didn't get off until after I got out of school. So I of course conned my way into saying to her, look, you know what, the gas stations open up at like 4:30. So I know you don't have time to go sit at the gas station for 4:30. And you could go at that time back then, you could go to the gas station. If you didn't get there, if it opened at 4:30, if you didn't get to the gas station by 3 o'clock, you were the 150th car.
Yeah, you weren't getting gas.
You weren't getting gas. So you had to be there. So I would get to the gas station probably at like 2:30. So you go to bed, I don't know, back then I was going to bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock. But still had to get up, get dressed, be ready for school, get in the car, drive over, sit, take a blanket and a pillow, sit at the gas station until they opened up to be like the 50th car in the line to get some gas. And you were lucky you got some. Then I drive back home, pick her up, take her to work, go to school. And all this was just so I could look.
You got to drive, man. You got to drive. Yeah. So I was explaining to my kids the other day, I was trying to explain to them that back in the 70s, you even or odd. So if people, when I just asked Montel even or odd, a lot of y'all don't even realize you could only get gas on your day. You were either even or odd. And then everything.
An even day or an odd day. That was it.
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
If you missed it, that means you couldn't get gas for 2 more days.
Correct.
And it was and so just that alone, kids don't know that stuff, right? They don't even, my kids thought I was crazy.
Right? Yeah, I even add a little bit more to it. Not only when I would do this, I would take my mom's car because my mom's car had this huge gas tank. And I can't remember, maybe it was 30 gallons. But I used to have to take her car, drive over, sit at the gas station, fill that one up, and then take out one of those little hand crank pumps and pump out half of her gas into my father's car. He had like, a Jeep or something at that time so that he could get to work. And then I got to drive to school. So it was like one of the best things in the world because, everybody else, literally either they took the bus or, if their parent forgot to fill the gas tank, they weren't going that day.
They were walking. Yeah.
They were walking. It was great. And my school was walkable. You say that to one of your kids today that you walk to school, they look at you like you're crazy, right?
Uphill in the snow both ways, man.
Yep.
Look, it sounds like we're two old dudes swapping stories, but like when you ask me what Christmas is about, man, that is what it's about these days. These kids do want a connection. They're so disconnected from the world. They're so connected online, but they're not connected locally. And I'm telling you, I see family after family. They really enjoy hearing the stories once they get started. So it's up to us, that older generation, to start sharing these stories.
And that's really, that's how you get to get people to shift their mindset from material possessions to meaningful experiences, right? Sitting around the morning breakfast table with a cup of hot chocolate on Christmas morning, talking about these stories, you forget having to grab some shiny little package to open it up.
Oh man, I did so we had 7 kids. So you can't really go crazy on Christmas morning with gifts because it's just too much money. And so we tried a thing a couple of years ago. We give each kid $100, but the deal is they can't spend it on themselves. It has to be for someone else, a gift for someone else. And I was chanting, so the first kid's like, oh, we'll buy video games for homeless people. I'm like, that's not actually what we're talking about.
No, a homeless person, not necessarily the best.
I was like, I appreciate it, but let's try again. And so, you kind of got to warm them into it. And then finally we were at Walmart and my oldest says, Dad, I think we need to pay for that lady's groceries. And I said, why? And he goes, she brought 4 kids to get groceries. And he goes, I think, and they were wild kids. I mean, they were worse than my boys. And he goes, if she could afford a babysitter, she would have. He goes, so we should pay for her groceries. And I was like, that's what we're talking about, dude. So I handed him the card. He goes over and he just swipes. He waits for her to get ready and he swipes and he buys all of her groceries. And of course, I'm thinking like, crap, that's like $300 worth of groceries. It's a lot more than $100.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? He got it. He figured it out. And so now this is their new thing. They love to do that on, around Christmas. They love to go buy people's groceries because the lady was so thankful. She started hugging them and it was a total stranger. And I was like, okay, you can intentionally do things that help people, right? You can intentionally do things that make a difference, bring joy to someone else, and that aren't selfish. And that's the kind of stuff we've really pushed hard with our kids now. And it sounds all neat and perfect and polished, but try it.
There needs to be a big sign. I mean, there ought to be like a blank page on every television screen every 60 seconds instead of some of the other commercials. You know what I mean? Bring joy to what you just said.
Right. And the hug, man, the hug my son got from a stranger is more valuable than any gift he got that year. I can assure you.
And that's how you strategize, coming up with ideas to help reduce that pressure to just conform to consumerism, right?
Yep. Intentionality, man. You got to think about it and then you got to make a plan and you got to sit down and talk about it with your family. What are we going to do this year to help somebody else? And it doesn't mean that's all you're doing. You're just not doing as much selfishly for yourself, but you're doing a little bit more for someone else that needs it. And I promise you, man, that joy that you give and then that joy that you feel is so much greater than anything else. And that's the stories, to bring it all back, that's the stories they're going to tell their kids when you're gone.
Absolutely. And that's how you can actually create lasting traditions that focus on connection and sharing rather than just material gifts.
Go ahead. No, look, I clean houses for a living. And guys, the majority of my clean outs are after someone passes away. This is morbid, but I'm going to just say it real bluntly. All the stuff you've been buying for 50 years, your kids will take 5 items, I promise.
And then throw the rest away.
And they're paying me to get rid of the rest. I love the work. I appreciate it. But I promise you, they are paying me to take all this stuff away. You don't need it. Start spending some of that money on doing joy for someone else, or just go travel. Throw a dart at a map and take your kids somewhere random. I promise you they will have fun.
Yeah, and also I really like the idea, not just giving back to individuals, but also giving back to the community, trying to help, make a difference in the community you live in. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you can volunteer anywhere, man. I still got a bunch of young kids, so we're in school. So we have a chance to volunteer more. We have a chance to serve. But if you're in a church, find a way to go serve, and do it at the one that no one signed up for, right? Everybody wants to volunteer at the soup kitchen on Thanksgiving because that's the best thing. That's the coolest volunteer you got. No, do the one that nobody wants, man. That's where you take your kids because it's not going to be glorious. I can tell you that. But you're going to be making a difference that someone really, really needs. And
you're making a difference in somebody else's life, but you're also making a difference in your child's life by helping them understand the nature and what's behind giving back.
All day long. We did, we cleaned out a hospital one time. My kids now come and work. I'm so old, my kids are coming on hoarders and working on hoarders with me, cleaning out the houses for free. And they realize, they're like, man, these people need a lot of help. And then one of my sons got really, and she's like, I kind of want to help the cats. Like, he's like, Dad, I know you like the trash and everything, but I want to help the animals. Where can I volunteer? I'm like, well, that's funny. There's a shelter. So he's starting to want to go volunteer at a shelter. If you put your family, regardless of age, in a situation to help other people, they will see what they like, right? And they will ask. And then you just need to keep providing those opportunities for people to help. I promise you, the more you give, the less you're going to want to receive, because what you're receiving is just love and joy. And then you sit around, and then what I've really made an intentional space about is having time after this to talk about it. And so, I've really, you and you're giving me time and space to talk now. But like with my kids, when we get home, I don't let them go right back on the devices. I don't let them go back on their phones. We sit and talk about what we just did. And I ask them, how do they feel? What did it make them feel like? What do you think we could have done better? What do you think was good for that person that we helped? The more you do that, the more these kids are going to want to do it. And it doesn't have to be little kids. You can do this with your adult children. You can do it with your brother and sister. you can help anyone at any age. You just got to be intentional about it and strategic.
And we have to, along with that, be intentional about explaining to them the juxtaposition between what they just did and the idea of having consumption, and buying stuff just for stuff's sake.
Yep, totally. And I'm 4 years into being a minimalist now, and what is it? I mean, we're a couple days from Christmas, right? And my kids haven't even told me what they wanted yet because they don't really want anything. We haven't even discussed it, Montel.
Right. Well, you gotta tell you, for me, it's like my wife asked me something about 2 days ago, and I was like, honestly, I just want to sit with you, drink a cup of coffee or a cup of chocolate, hug you and hug our JP, the little guy that you heard making a noise.
Yep.
And that's it. There's nothing I want. There's nothing. You couldn't give me anything for Christmas this year. No one could. That I would go, oh man, I really want it. There's nothing I want.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've already done that. I did all that consumption stuff, and guess what, folks? It was empty, and so was my wallet. And now, when I really truly give, I want to sleep till 9 with nobody waking me up. That would be an amazing thing to do. If I could just sleep a little longer and then just spend more time with my family.
My friend, I mean, it's really one of those things that we have to understand that, those things that we think have such sentimental value are just objects and they don't matter. I mean, I'm looking in front of me and I got a 42-inch television leaning against the wall right here, still wrapped up from when we moved. I never put it on the wall in the bedroom because there's nobody there to watch it. So why bother? But why do I even have it leaning against the wall? It's time to get rid of it. It's a brand new TV. Time to get rid of this thing.
I mean, I've got a lot of families that they finally just say, sell everything we don't use. And then I go, great. What are you going to do with the money? They're like, I don't know. I go, great. Let's find a charity for your mom that you love so much. Like, who is the person that you love? What's your best memory of Christmas, right? And then they tell us. And I said, great. Let's go sell all the stuff we don't need, sell it cheap, and then give something away in memory of your mom, right? Whatever she did. If she, I asked my kids and they were like, well, we would probably just buy a lot of people ice cream because you love ice cream. And I was like, that's awesome. I would love, that's a way for me to be and I was like, well, by the way, guys, when I die, that's what the funeral is going to be. We're going to have an ice cream truck at the back of the church and everybody's going to come and get free ice cream. And we all started laughing, but I'm like, dude, that's awesome. That's joy. That's excitement. That's happiness. That's what I want people to feel in the holiday.
You talked about it a couple of times, and I know we're almost out of time, but I want to give us an idea real quick. You talk about minimalism and intentional living. Let's talk about that a little bit and how, that can contribute to a more sustainable and economically friendly lifestyle, but a more sustainable world.
Yeah.
So minimalism for people.
Yeah, there's 1,000 benefits of minimalism. I'm married into it. My wife wrote a book about minimalism. It's called Minimalism for Families. I happened to read it. Someone recommended it. The book was so good, I actually ended up marrying the lady. Pretty good review of the book, right? Yeah. And but at the end of the day, minimalism is really about doing more with less. That's it. It's not about having nothing. It's not about living with no sugar and no plastic and all that. But look, we got 9 kids in the house. We got 10 cups. We're 9 people. We got 10 cups. We only have what we need and we use it all. And I have to tell you, our house is so intentionally built. I mean, we don't even have, our yard is low impact. So we don't even have anything in our yard that we have to take care of. And because we found is the more stuff we got, the more problems we got stuff. 99 problems and it's all stuff, right?
Right.
Yep. We have minimized anything that needs from us, except for pets and kids. I do the guy from Hoards kids. But other than that, we really have nothing. And what it has done is it has freed up my time. And most importantly, it's freed up my wallet. I mean, I see so much more money. And what we do with that money is we tend to eat better. We go out. We eat better food. We spend a lot of time together around a table eating food because that's what we enjoy. And we occasionally go on a nice vacation. But the point you're really talking about is, man, we're not buying a bunch of stuff and throwing it away and filling up the landfill. And that is my business, man. I mean, I empty houses, right? And for the first 10 years, we were throwing away literally thousands of pounds of trash out of people's houses every week. And now we can repurpose probably 90% of it. We recycle it, we repurpose it, we donate it. All the clothes now get, believe it or not, Goodwill's a phenomenal part for us. Goodwill takes the clothes, even the ones that they can't resell, and they shred them up and they recycle them back into insulation. And so they go back into, I mean, there are so many good ways to reuse the stuff in your house. But the one we use the most is we find people that need it more than us. And man, that's the best way to get rid of stuff.
I'm thinking this year again, we're coming out of a year of angst and anxiety, and now we're looking at holiday season right now. What is your wish for all of us? What's your wish for the world, Matt?
Family, man. I hope family becomes the coolest thing in the world again. That's the best trend there is. It's all about family. It's all about real time. Time should become your most important currency. More than money, more than stuff, more than cool. And I'm sounding like some guru over here, but at the end of the day, time with your family is really all that matters. And you got to be intentional about that. So I hope for everybody that anyone's listening, man, I hope you just be intentional about a 2-hour time. Get rid of put down this device you're watching this on, put it down, and go spend some time telling stories with your family. And just see what happens. I promise you, man, you will feel better and happier and more joyful. Go for a long walk like you do, Montel. I mean, just go for a walk with everyone.
Well, this will be this interview with you, this conversation will be a story that I'll get to tell for the next several years, my friend. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you. All right, I'm going to ask you the same question, Montel. What do you want for people?
Peace of heart. Now, there's so much anxiety floating like a cloud over everyone. You walk outside, take a walk down the street. I don't know. I want to believe that there was a time that I used to walk down the street and people's mouths seemed to curl up, but now they all curl down. I want that cloud to lift. I want that anxiety to lift. I want us to understand that it took all of us to get here. It's going to take all of us to get to the next place. So why don't we put that curl back up and look in people's faces and give them a smile to make them curl back at you? That would be my wish for the holidays. I don't need anything.
I don't need anything. I want someone. I love it. I want someone else to smile. That's what I want for Christmas. I want a stranger to smile. I love it.
Yep. All right, my friend. I got to thank you so much for being a part of this today, man. Sharing this, because I think so many people just need to take a minute to pause and recognize what's really real and what's really important in this world. And too often we don't even take a minute to say thank you or to just say, have a great day. So I thank you for taking the time. Let's say some things. Huh?
Thank you always for giving me the space to tell my stories, man. I just thank you. I will see you again next year.
All right, my friend. We'll see you again next year. You take care of yourself. Love that family of yours. Tell everybody I said hi. And have a really wonderful, wonderful, beautiful Christmas and a really prosperous New Year, my friend. And make sure you continue to join us on the next Free Thinking with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Free Thinking with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear feedback, so please send us your comments. Military Makeover is so grateful for the support of Purple Heart Homes, a nonprofit organization that rebuilds and transforms the homes for our veterans.
Our heroes come home with sacrifices most of us can't imagine. As a veteran myself, I've been there and founded Purple Heart Homes to help.
When I tell the story of Purple Heart Homes, it's the freedom to not have to depend on somebody else to do the simple everyday things in life.
Visit phhusa.org/makeover to learn how you can help.